have times when they are allowed to. So I mean, that is a little bit confusing. So there's times when they do their work and they're doing the real work. So we just have to get behind them, support them. They shouldn't have to find us. We should find them.
Now, I've been a member since I was money makes more money than labor. So money, you gotta make money to make money.
This doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, sir. Respectfully, it doesn't. Nothing to do with what we're talking about.
It does.
Let that man speak. He raised his nieces and nephews and put them through college. Let that man speak.
I'll go after
I tell him all the time.
Yeah.
Money makes more money than labor. That is true. Regardless how you think about it.
You're wrong for that.
That is true. There is no point in labor if you could use money to make money.
I'm going to follow up on what Quinn was saying. I don't know I'm not as in depth with the NAACP. I know they're good, but I know more of the National Urban League because I had one of my family members. We actually interviewed her here on the app a year or two ago in one of my spaces. She's since retired from her position in the National Urban League. They do a lot of good in their respective chapters. My aunt, who was the CEO of the chapter in her major city, she instituted a shoe program for the youth, for not just African American youth, but she opened it up to anyone who was in need. Especially in this time of going back to school, making sure that kids from families of less means had all that they needed. They have a youth program where they're getting youth involved. In her chapter, or I should keep saying her chapter, she's in her former chapter, they have financial literacy programs. They have helped young people, especially young black people, take one foot into home ownership and that first step into wealth building that has so often passed us by because of redlining and other things of that nature that have held us back as a community. So this is something that I recognize my own biases because this is something that I've grown up with within my own family structure. But I know that's not available to all, but they're just looking, I encourage. I was about to say open up the yellow pages, but Google your own respective city. If there isn't a chapter within your own city, see if there's one nearby. Mark Morales, the head of the overall National Urban League, they have something going on. I think by the end of this week in Harlem with Right, Wrong, or Indifferent with Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III. If you get on the email or if you become a member, you're privy to this information. And that's just to anyone.
Brian, open up the yellow page.
I have a question. I have a question to Dr. A.G. Dr. A.G., do you believe that those colleges don't have chapters because majority of them are white?
I think that's some of it, yeah. Because the student organizations can only be founded by students. So, I'll say that anyway. Yeah, student organization.
Yeah, I'm asking because I know UH has a chapter, so we know UH is majority Black and Hispanic college.
And a lot of the schools that have them, the chapters are older, and the students have just carried it. So there was a school actually in Indiana that they were like revitalizing theirs. They were bringing theirs back. This was like maybe 10, 15 years ago. They were bringing theirs back because it had languished, and they were renewing it. And so there is a resurgence of it. But yeah, that's why it's the student population. And different universities have different rules for how to form student organizations, but at most universities, you can form a student organization with as little as 5 people. It doesn't take a lot.
My high school had a chapter. I was a part of it. We were paying dues with the national chapter since I was a senior in high school.
So basically, are y'all here or where? Yeah, we here, Brooklyn. Okay, so basically, it would take for the kid to want to be involved, but then it will also take for the parent to, like, kind of encourage them to be involved in something like that. So if that's not happening, then correct, and you would also have to encourage your child probably to go to a school that has, more of the black community. But they got majority of the black community. But they got local chapters outside of college. Oh, so of course. You can do it outside of college. But I believe that it's also the parent encouraging the child. The child will. Right, that's what I'm saying. Like it would probably be based on the parents' involvement. So it's like a trickle down. If you're not involved, if you're not really telling your kids, you're not pro-black with your kids, then your kids ain't pro-black either.
Yeah. I want to say this, because earlier you're asking her. I thought that initially because UCLA only has like 5 to 6% black, right? So I figured that must be why they don't have a former NAACP chapter, right? But then I started doing my research, and there are a lot of HBCUs that don't have a formal NAACP chapter. So it's not just a percentage, right? That's not it. They have it's usually student initiated. If the students are, like you said, being parented in that way, or they don't have mentors or affiliates that are moving in that direction to kind of motivate them to organize and seek that form of affiliation with the NAACP, it doesn't happen. It's usually student initiated. It doesn't matter if it's, like Dr. AG said, 4 or 5 students. It doesn't matter. As long as they initiate and formally affiliate, you're there, right? But they're just not being motivated to do so, or they're joining other groups and they just have other focuses. And that's more the problem than the amount of black students that are there.
And honestly, being uninformed just really can't be an excuse, especially as a black person. I feel like, what'd you say?
I just said, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, so it's like, I don't feel like people should have to be motivated. Like, you should want to do this. Like, you see how that black people have certain issues in this country, brown people have certain issues, so that should motivate you. But I feel like we debilitate young people by, saying things like they don't know, so help them. Like, pass it down. Like you said, information just does not fall out the air. You got it. Any information, even information on Instagram, you still got to go get it. You have to reach for it, and if you want to verify it, you have to research it further. So I think that's kind of our problem, is that we are so oh, it's not right here, in front of me. So they don't know about it. So what? I don't even know that type of thought process. Go out and get it, find out somebody doing it.
And I think this is one of the things I've recognized, because being 76, I've now taught several generations, and these 18, I would say these 18 to 24-year-olds and other people thereabout, but for that particular demographic, they are some of the most uninformed, claiming having access to information people I have ever met. They have access to more information than even I could have imagined accessing, and without doing any work. They don't have to leave their homes, right? They don't even have to be home. They could be in a public restroom in McDonald's and access information. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I, as a Gen Xer, I think Gen X has to take responsibility for the poor education of their children. The poor foundation building and rooting their children in a certain cultural politic and a certain black politic.
Amen.
These people run around here talking all this craziness about black people, about black, and it is no wonder that because they disseminate this information so widely that we we are in the state that we are in. So yes, it is the parents. You have to get your kid anchored in the tradition and encourage your child to work, to create and continue the Black Project, which is access to the franchise and the privileges and rights of citizenship for everyone. And if you're not doing it, your kid's not going to do it either. And your kid going to find kids who ain't doing it. And then we going to be fucked up sideways in the world.
You mean just like we are now, Dr. AJ? You talking about now?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
So how many of y'all are card carrying posters of the ladies who be in here?
I'm actually still a member.
And Urban League.
I'm a member of the National Urban League.
And the National Council of Negro Women.
Yeah, my daughter.
I'm the National African. I'm African certified.
I'm certified African.
Urban League.
Lord have mercy. I'm also a member.
That's a troll.
I'm also a member.
Oh, okay.
I'm not trolling. I'm sorry.
That's
You
a
sound-
troll.
I'm also a member of the
Let's
CBC.
continue with our membership announcements.
I'm also a member of the CBC. You all can be a member of the CBC as well.
Well, I'm not a member of anything, but I'm still hella pro-Black.
It's not even expensive. It's really not expensive.
I'm just not. Maybe I'll join. It really isn't. But how are you trying to speak? I'm trying to speak.
I hope this will inspire people to seek out.
Yes, I'm inspired, Dr. AG. Thank you so much.
You're
I just am inspired. No, seriously, I'm inspired. No, seriously. I already said, and I may need to join an organization at this age in my life. And why not? You know what I mean? Especially now.
I'm sorry.
It makes sense. So, please don't talk to me. It makes sense for me to, join something like that and be involved in community outreach. I mean, I've done community outreach outside of all of those organizations, but it wouldn't hurt, you know what I'm saying? To join. I'm not tripping.
And let's be clear also, just because we're in the information age doesn't mean that people are going to be informed. To Dr. AG's point, I mean, that you can have information at your fingertips, but you don't have any guidance. Information without guidance is useless. You haven't been guided, and parents don't direct their children toward those things. And if they don't know, then obviously how are you going to deal with the blind? Can't lead the blind. So there are people who don't understand the importance of guiding their children, not just to being part of organizations, but understanding in general. So when you don't do that, then there's only nothing to continue passing along. So I mean, they have all the information at their fingertips they want. Don't matter. Nothing you can do with it if you haven't been guided, you haven't been shown how to use it.
You know what I mean? I raised her basically, but they're all she was a student president. I made sure you gotta be, what's the point of you even being in council school if you're not a student president? And I told my nephew, what's the point of playing basketball if you ain't the best? What's the point? I look what's the point? You know what I'm saying? You gotta be the best. And they became the best. He became the best. That's what it is. Gotta be what's the point? I average 17 points a game. You can Google me. It ain't no joke.
What the hell going on?
I'm a Brooklyn on this. I mean, listen, I try to call him.
Google me. If you're gonna do something, be the best. What's the point?
Absolutely.
What are you doing it for?
Totally agree with you, brother.
I think this is the under 24 that Dr. AG was speaking on. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Well, here's the thing. Even if it's trolling, during a serious conversation, it's still juvenile. Just because you don't have the ability to participate in adult conversations, and then you try to
Get your kids involved
it's crazy.
When you get them involved when they're young in some of these organizations, they sound when they go off the call.
You're in the matrix, Patty. You must have rolled into some bad.
Like when I was little, my mom had Martin Luther King Day. I'd have to like do little paintings that they would auction off at the because you know they always have their annual gala. When I was in Fort Stewart, or when my dad was in Fort Stewart, and I went down to see him in Fort Stewart, they have this thing in South Carolina. They have this big dinner right before the Masters. Because the Masters is it's a bunch of, or some kind of thing they have at Hillhead. It's something like the Masters. You know what I'm talking about, Dr. Reggie?
Yeah, they have, I think it's Ted Turner who does that golf tournament. That's what you're talking about?
You
Is that
can't,
what you're talking about, the golf tournament?
you can't pay the bills with words. You can only pay the bills with skill.
Someone can move him now.
You pay the bill.
Wait, let me say something real quick. I've been real quiet. And I listened to this conversation about the education. And I agree, you know, the Gen X has a responsibility when it comes down to the education. But I also think when it comes down to emotional intelligence, that also needs to be something that needs to be an example. And the example that is shown in this room on a constant basis is not something that I would want the generation that is coming up to resemble. Why? Because it doesn't look good. So you're constantly complaining about somebody else, but nobody's looking in the mirror. Carry on.
Was that for me?
It's for whoever wants to take it.
Oh,
It
okay.
doesn't have to be anybody specific. I don't target people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying and putting it out there.
Okay. For my money, if again, you know, and that has a place in the conversation as well. But for my money, if we're having a serious debate or a serious conversation, and there are people not interested in that, and visibly so, I think removing them is probably a better option than engaging them, and especially when it's not in good faith. If it's in good faith, that's a different approach. They just can't participate in the conversation, or maybe don't have the information, but are willing to learn. Totally different thing. But when people are doing what this cat is doing, to my right, that's disruptive because he doesn't prioritize sensible conversation, and he clearly does not participate. Clearly doesn't prioritize that. It's disruptive.
Yeah, let's just recalibrate. Let's refocus. Patty, your internet was going in and out, so we couldn't hear. You were saying something about if you start them early.
Yeah, if you start them early, a lot of times these kids do things on their own. Like with my daughter, when she went off to college, she was like, you know what, I'm gonna join the Young Democratic Party. So it's like she's joined that. She's like done this too. She's part of some black something union, something. Cause there's only so many black kids at her school, right?
Black student union.
Like, yep, union. She does. She volunteers at the Boys and Girls Club for tutoring for kids. There's a lot of things that they do on their own if you start them young, and it's something that they take the initiative to do it. If you start them young, right? So even when I was a little kid, you know, who actually got us into the.
You're gone again.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yes.
When you were young, who actually started?
Yeah, my mom paid for it. She was the one that paid for us to join the NAACP. And we would go to a church once a month, and they would have meetings. This was before the phone calls and then the monthly meetings, because now they do this mass phone call and you get to hear like what's going on, what the agenda is. But back then they didn't have the monthly phone calls. It was once a month. We had to show up, dress up, go to this church, and they would have the meetings. And it was an Asian woman. It wasn't my black dad. So like, I don't know. And I do think kids involved in these things, and they'll take initiative and do other things.
Sandy, you want to see your age and mom for keeping you connected to the culture. She's a big job.
You don't.
But I'm saying she wanted you to know it, and that's what's important.
But that's like part of the point. It doesn't matter that she didn't know the culture. She knew, you know what I'm saying, to get you involved.
Yeah.
A lot of these parents, they don't be teaching their kid about no pride about being black. And so when like the issues that people don't understand that there are specific black issues. Everybody want to be different. And that's fine. But we're not gonna get anywhere trying to separate ourselves from the things that are actually uniting us, whether it be through struggle or whatever. But I think that saying that people don't know about something has never been and should not be an excuse now. And I think that we need to really rectify that.
I think a lot of the parents aren't proud of being black themselves. A lot of them want to be racially ambiguous if they could. They don't want to stand next to a black community or identify with a black community. They want to distance themselves as well. So you can't expect them to relay that type of information to their children. Their children are probably following suit. They watching the way their parents move and are doing the exact same thing. They're not proud of their skin either.
And I feel like that's why people don't understand, didn't understand Kamala, because one thing that I will say about her that irritated me the most is when people would try to say she wasn't black or bring up the fact that she was the first Indian woman, because you can be both. You can have two heritages or whatever, and be entrenched in both of them. Like, that's the beauty about being a human and having a brain. But everybody just thinks that because she said I'm the first Indian woman, and because she, is proud of her Indian heritage, that she's not black. And that just to me is very indicative of how people don't understand what being black is. And I feel like when I was growing up, when I was younger, even non-black people understood blackness and that we had a certain pride about ourselves. And I don't see that anymore at all. Never, ever.
We're living in the post-Obama generation. Those are espousals from people in the post-Obama generation. Like those, and don't get me wrong, there's some people in our generation, there's Gen X people who believe in the same thing, but there weren't as many of them because we saw a different world than they've seen. And we're just at that precipice. Like we're almost 20 years removed from that, from the election of a black president, which for not only for some white people thought that we were in a post-racial era, but there's some black folks who thought we were in a post-racial era. So there are people who are raising their children without the knowledge of who we actually are, compounded with the fact that we have piss poor education and the pride that comes along with knowing who you are. So, and there are people who think that they've arrived and that we're in some post-racial era, and that they don't have that knowing being black doesn't mean the same thing, or it just means that I'm an American.
Quinn, let me ask you this though. What would that matter, right? Let's say Trump is a black advocate. He is on our side. He's pro-black. Everything he's doing is to empower minorities. Let's say that. Just hypothetically. We all know that's not the case, but let's just have that conversation. You still should be very, very, very adamant about them understanding who we are historically, what history has done for and to us, and how that we are viewed. Period. No matter if it's post-racial, pre-racial, current, it doesn't matter. That's still a very, very important part of who you are, who we are, who they are, how the world views them, what makes us us. No, that's still super important.
You'll get no argument from me. But what I'm saying is that the visual, or the fact that we've had a black president, and there are people who are now almost adults who were born in that time, at the time that he was president, who were just born. There are people who are almost 18 years old. You understand what I'm saying? That sense that's what I mean. So there are people who've grown up in a post-racial Obama era. I mean, who grown up in a post-racial Obama era, who think because we've had people running for president who have actually been president, that somehow we're in that post-racial era, so it doesn't mean as much as maybe some in the generations before have claimed that it is.
And not to mention the fact that we're in a society now where all of a sudden Black Americans, in particular Black people, wherever, can't talk about, you know, what their ancestors been through, the oppression that they went through. Oh, you trying to they looking at us like we want a pity party and we just telling the truth about history. And it's our own people that's doing that too. Oh, you don't need the exhibit of slavery. What you wanna why you wanna always be the victim? How many times we done heard that? Like this is the type of shit that we going through right now. Where it's other populace of people all over the world, and they went through shit too, and they get to talk about it. They get to show what we came out of is different for us. They got people that you don't want to watch movies about slavery. Oh, because we wasn't slaves. We got people saying that this shit ain't happened. We got other groups of people saying that we from from Israel. Goddamn, we was born here. It's all this shit going on at the same time. And it's just like, it's disheartening as far.
Because nobody has been taught. I'm gonna say this real quick. Sorry, Dr. AG. I was just gonna say because we don't know any Black history. I don't like. There's nothing you can tell me about Black people. Nothing. Absolutely nothing that would make me not want to be Black or be ashamed of that. You could show me the worst situation in Chicago or the slums. It's never going to make me not want to be Black. I'm never going to be embarrassed. A lot of these people are embarrassed. The way they talk about Black people, the way they refer to them you can tell that they're embarrassed. I'm not like that because I was taught about being Black from very, very small. So I don't have, and I'm not trying to offend nobody, but I don't have a lot of the inferiority complexes that a lot of people have because that's what I know from beginning. From before I knew about George Washington and those forefathers, I knew about my actual ancestors. So I really do think that it's important that you know these things because like even what Patty was saying, her mother, not even a Black person, pushed her toward these things because she knew what her child was going to face in life. And so now, as an adult, you know, she knows these things. She has these things embedded in her as a Black person. And you can't take those things from a person. And those things, they always stay with you. If you have none of that, if all you see and all you associate Blackness with is sexy red and hip hop, and then you may have a hard time, even though that still doesn't make me feel no type of way. But you may have a hard time grasping what we're so proud about and what we're going on and on about. But to me, Black culture is the most beautiful culture, and everybody should know about it. Not just Black people, but the fact that our own people don't want to know or are so embarrassed and just talk about us like we're dogs. It's sad to me. It's really, really sad.
Yeah, and that's also, I would say this, man, and there is as active, or more active, a more pronounced, a more deliberate effort to miseducate people, way bigger than there is to educate people. Brooklyn, what you hear, and in line with what Justin was just saying, what you hear is the byproduct of that. Is people not having any pride in who they are because they just don't know who they are. They don't know anything. All they know about Black history is what they see in their current world. That's it. And that's sad. Like to us, that's foreign because we learned Black history. We saw Black people. Some of the people that are mentioned in this so-called Black history are people that we know, that we got to experience ourselves. So I mean, it's just, it is disheartening, but to understand it gives you a little bit of, gives you a little bit of reprieve. But it's disheartening. It's crazy to listen to, but I had to remember, I'm like, we're president. There's some people who think that signifies that that was the end of racism, which is insane.
Brandy, I don't know what you mean by the face of blackness. Like, I don't think there's a face of blackness. I think that black people, I don't, and I think that y'all don't understand. To me, that's dehumanizing to think that we don't have a myriad of people. Like, we have an Ida B. Wells, so we don't have a Sexy Red. We're gonna have people with varying values, that ain't gonna line up with what you think. Like, that's what being a human is. Like, some people are different. Some people, why, I don't understand why that's so bad to black people. I really, really don't get that.
Well, because she's approaching with a different mind, though, Jess. You see the stuff she wrote earlier. Like her question is, why should we watch slavery movies? Is that empowering us in some way? Like this, she's exactly what we're talking about.
Actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
You did say that. You said it's only a few small facts.
Super
You
empowering.
said exactly that.
You literally said that.
It builds resilience, it builds determination, it builds stick-to-itness. Okay, is my mic broke? Okay. I'm sorry. And I think that's the problem with these young people, is that they have a heightened level of insecurity and anxiety about their status as citizens because they do not understand the power that they stand in because of where they came from. And that is a problem. When you begin to see your history, right? When you begin to see your history as an impediment, you are lost. You are lost.
And so we have people that look at our history as Black Americans as an impediment, so they're making up shit. They're just, grasping at straws, pulling things out the air, and calling themselves this fully thing that they have never even grew up in. They're actually taking what we had, the way we cook, the way we dance, the things that we say, and they're making it their thing. It's just like, I get so frustrated with a particular group of niggas on the app. Let's just say that. I'm really trying not to even talk to them right now, even though one of them is in the chat. Because you all have this idea of Black America that is not Black American, and it's so obvious, and then you try to take things away and ask questions about things that is obviously there, like boats and shit. Like, how else did anybody get over here if it wasn't for a boat? It's so fucking frustrating, y'all. Y'all just don't even understand how pissed off I be most of the time in most of these lame ass conversations with these lame ass people.
So what I said was, no one wants to watch a slavery movie every Easter. I know. I didn't like it. I was the only maybe 2 or 3 Black kids in class, and then the teacher fucking rolls on the television, and we watching a slavery movie, and now everybody's staring at me, the only Black kid in the class. You're like, I don't like that. I didn't like that feeling growing up. So no one is saying do not teach. No one is saying take away history. No one is saying don't know where you come from. But why is it that we lead with the most horrific event that happened to us as people? Why can't we lead with excellence and still know our culture and our history at the same time? That's like waking up every day looking in the mirror. Slavery? Being
Wait, hold on. Let me. Okay, go ahead.
Josh, check it back channel. That's like waking up every day, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I can't do nothing. Oh, now I'm gonna go.
My friend who's a leading Holocaust educator.
Over yourself if you're constantly. I'm not saying you people, but there are people constantly live in this mentality. Like, this is what happened 400 years ago. This is it. Like, you detach and say, yep, that happened 400 or 500 years ago, but that's not what's happening to me today. And I'm going to teach my history. I'm going to teach my kids. I'm going to let everybody know, and it should not be removed from history books. It should not be removed from museums. But we should not lead with that. There's so many Black excellent inventors and doctors. Why don't we talk about that? There should be, every time we watch a movie, it should be about that. Not us being beat, raped, killed, and destroyed as people. It is the big one.
You have not heard of the word. One question, real quick. I just want to say this one.
Let Dr. Angie go and then
Just one point. Brandon, one of the first doctors, right? One of the first virologists, now what you call them, in this country was an enslaved person. So slavery is a story of excellence, right? But we don't know that history because that part isn't told. But that's why we have a responsibility to tell the story. So I don't get what you're talking about when you say don't lead with that.
Because
that is the excellence. That is the excellence, though.
That is excellent. Really quick, hold on to Dr. A.G. Now, I didn't even know that. Now, if we led with that, this is a story where these excellent people derived from, and this is how we blah, blah, blah. We don't hear it that way. What we hear was we were slaves, white supremacy, oppression, we were beat, they took everything from us, and blah, blah, blah. It's not, I'm not saying we should not complain or we shouldn't fight, but it's more of a complaint and a woe is me that we came from this shit and look who we are today, and we keep on striving. Not saying you people in this room, but the overall majority of Black people, when you hear and talk to them about struggle, it always goes back to, look what they did to us. Yeah, Head Start, blah, 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 blah. Instead of, you know what? We came sessions from shit and look at today, and we keep on making strides to be better people. But that's not what we really get, Dr. A.G., and we know that.
But why do you not get that as a how it's, the way it's being taught, who's teaching it, and, when you said that they roll out the movie and the people stare at you, why are you not, that's not your fault, that's them. They're ignorant. So, to me, that's the fucked up part right there, that you as a Black person, you feel bad about something, and that is overcoming. To me, when I see slavery, it's like, dang, the Black people are well represented in every facet of America, and we came from that. That's the biggest story. I don't know. I look at it different.
Absolutely. I have a really
So wait. This is a Black conversation, please. Thank you. So I want to know, have you guys ever heard of the word perseverance?
absolutely, yeah.
Overcoming.
To my point,
Can you please, Austin, please? Listen.
Because I do want to hear him because he's going to make a point I want to make.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Austin. I'm going to let you go.
I have the floor for a moment.
Okay, hurry up because I got to go somewhere. Make your point.
Oh, cool. One of the most wonderful clubhouse rooms ever. One of the leading Holocaust educators in the world, Sammy Seidman, he spoke about how surviving the Holocaust, he likes to use the word, he's a survivor of the Holocaust. He doesn't use the word victim. He doesn't think of himself as a victim. He was a victim, but in his mindset is survivor, perseverance, etc. And that's what I have to